Welcome back to the highest level of Beyond All Reason. 16 commanders loading in, 8 versus 8 ranked team deathmatch. By far the most popular game mode in this real-time strategy experience. The game inspired by Total Annihilation, made by volunteers, and is absolutely free to play, but it will cost you a whole bunch of your free time and a chunk of your sanity. And annoying YouTubers begging you to smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe. Help me counter the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Just one more. 1,002 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than these early ticks and other scattered units. By far, the most annoying, effective, and vulnerable unit in the early game. The tick, aptly named. The cheapest unit, in every sense of the word, can get into places that it absolutely shouldn't be and ruin your early game economy and morale. Alright, the most important parts of these first few minutes, especially on a map like this, a relatively open one, is establishing a front line and getting as much territory as you can. You want to gain as many metal extractor points as possible. And here we got, looks like 1.9 metal per second apiece. Putting metal extractors or mexes on those locations is by far the most efficient way to grow your economy. And then, of course, gathering energy, either from wind or solar, or geothermal locations, and later on fusions. But it looks like with 13.4 average wind speed, wind turbines are going to be a strong choice. And then, last but not least, you got to make sure you know which teammate you're going to blame if things go horribly wrong. So, speaking of teammates, before we get too much further into it, on the blue team, we have Neza, Master Bell, Sentient Waffle, Shrek 3 on Netflix, Bacon Dude, Akula, Yomagachi, and Narukar. And then, facing against them, over to the east side of things, I Will Conquer, not real, the Roxy, Morley, Sneaky Man, Zyka, Bard Up, and Maddie facing off. Most of these players in that top couple percent of the game overall. Some of them, I believe, with tournament wins, you can tell. When you win a tournament, yes, sometimes you get money. But more importantly, you get a hat. Neza here with his Viking helmet. Thurxie with... Is that a grunt with boxing gloves? But you're playing Armada. That's one way to get grunts, is Armada. Whoa! Master Bell! He's digging very deep and very greedily here. On the other side of the map, already brawling it out with the pawns. That pawn at rank 3, getting taken down now. 40% HP. Missile... rocket tanks coming down to defend. Master Bell diving deep into enemy territory, trying to deny this geothermal location. But of course, there's a lot of risk for this potential reward. The commander itself worth over 1,000 metal. The most valuable unit by far in the early game. If he loses it, it could be considered feeding. And I'm sure if he loses it, most on his team will consider it feeding either way. But, holding down this location, these early tanks are more than enough to deal with just a few rocket bots. And in fact, he's driving back the commander up the ramp. He will be able to hold this down for now. To the north, Morley has pushed back the forces of Narukar, as the bots on either side are blasting each other apart. Akula XD and his missile tanks from Armada, the Whistlers, up against Armada tanks from Not Real. Maddie is also here, just chilling. Sentient Waffle dueling with rocket bots, some of the most intense high APM micro, because technically pretty much every projectile in the game can be dodged or targeted or any of the above. So technically you could micro every single unit, but most importantly your commander. Neza bringing it in from the side, combining with his teammate I Will Conquer, clearly scrambling to defend. Neza missing some of the D guns there. The disintegration gun can one-shot any unit it touches. But Conquer doing a great job of dodging those shots and minimizing damage, and now Nessa has to dodge rockets. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Not necessarily in that order. Oh, by the way, this is part of the new update to Beyond All Reason, not a balance patch. But there was recently a pretty massive graphical update with new fancy lights, lighting, shadows, stuff like that. The idea is to update the look of the game in the literal sense without increasing the cost of performance. So it's part of a multi-tier update. So hopefully you enjoy the look. And I believe there's going to be a compare and contrast video soon. The devs have been posting some info on it on Reddit and Discord. So if you want to see more, well, if you want to see more, just load the game as well. You got to turn some of the settings on that actually have shadows and lights. So if you're on a potato like most of my teammates, you might not be able to enjoy it as much. But Master Bell's still holding it down. Somehow, he's managed to hold this entire location, denying that geothermal crater. Geothermal, by far the most efficient early energy. But the downside is everybody knows where it is. Those geothermal locations are the only energy that is in a set part of the map. And usually heavily fought over. And in this case, ooh, is that an artillery piece? A gauntlet, tier 1 artillery cannon, making life very difficult for Master Bell right now. Gotta be careful to be on location. I Will Conquer and Neza clearly dueling in the center. And a tier 2 bot lab is already completed. I guess we are 9 minutes into the match, but on the front lines as well, making sure. Looks like it's getting pinged out. Sentient Waffle. I think it's very important to note the actual vision of the players between radar, radar tags, as well as the actual line of sight. Units do not automatically fire unless they have at least a radar contact. You can manually fire pretty much every unit at the ground, but that is inherently unreliable. So getting vision and radar contact with the enemy and anything important is a huge part of the game that I think is maybe less than obvious when it comes to observing from our suborbital perspective. Neza is cloaked right now. Does he have a jammer? Yes. That jammer allows him... that jammer means that there's no radar dot right now for I Will Conquer on that commander. He suddenly sees he just took out the jammer, which means the dot shows up. And when something is suspiciously moving forward toward your front line with no other units in support, it's almost always a cloaked commander trying to be sneaky and degun your defenses. Or even worse, you. Though commanders themselves are invulnerable to the degun. Nothing else is. One commander down. Who was that? Master Bell? He tried to go up to the high ground, but he underestimated Zynka's power. I Will Conquer on the front line, taking a lot of damage from these stout tanks. That's both a descriptor and their literal definition. Also, there's vision. He's getting close. He's trading the commander for some of those early units, but he doesn't get close enough to do real damage to Neza. Trying to buy a little more space to get those tier 2 units online, but I don't think that was worth it. The commanders are going to be able to claim the spoils of victory. All that extra metal. And probably the most important stat is metal produced overall. You can see in the top right. All our fancy stats there. Metal per second energy, build power, which is how you put everything together. And then metal produced overall, I think, is the most important for kind of telling how the game's going. Then you got army value, defense value, economy value, and just damage. Another commander down. This one, Narukar. So 6-6 commanders. What did we lose? Oh, it looks like one was lost up north. GG. Being trolled. I have a feeling the game's not going to just end like that. But let's get a look across the lines. The front line so far held by both sides, but starting to come apart. Not a direct line across the field, but instead a more wavy one. Unlike many games, moving your units across the field is a whole effort in and of itself. The mobility, the ability to go up and down cliffs, the directional fire of things like, are these T2 artillery tanks? Yes, Mausers, Armada artillery tanks now. As a single... The commander was taken down and a Resbot was trying to claim it, but not real now. This is a very real threat. Game will end here. Very bold calls. It looks like they all got that third point, of course. Oh, wait a second. Fighters coming out from the back line. Finally, Shrek 3 on Netflix. A bomb at both the box office and the front line goes straight for the tier 2 bot lab and knocks it out. A great run. Fighters come to intercept, but it looks like the screen is enough to keep many of the bombers alive. And there is no... Actually, is there a geothermal down there? He's working on the tier 2. Maybe now is not the time. The bombers come around for another pass. And we'll take out the tier 1 as well as the tier 2 construction bot. And that will set the economy back dramatically. Another run. Gonna take out some of the wind turbines. Lining up some hits now on the air player themselves. If he maintains total air control, he targets, gets the energy converters. The air plant almost taken out, but the construction turrets are putting it back together. And he tries another run, but it's not going to be enough. So the bombing run found real damage, but overall the metal still in favor of the red team to the east. Not Real has pushed all the way by. Team asking for help, but where is it to come from? The artillery continuing to shell. A few grunts popping out. Looks like there will be a counter artillery battery. But that feels like too little, and it's almost certainly too late. Meanwhile, Neza has a single starlight chunking his way through. That tier 2, effectively a slightly mobile turret fires off a high damage beam that hits everything in front of it at long range. And that's why some ticks coming out to try to close the distance on it. Maybe draw out some hits, but not before the geothermal is taken down. So Neza making progress once again towards the mid-southern crater. The Omikachi is holding for the blue team. But the red team to the north is breaking through. And if you break through all the way to the backline, you could easily just roll around into the backline economy. Sentient Waffle moving to intercept. He's got some artillery tanks of his own, but he's in a very inconvenient position. And the tanks must be looking forward in order to fire. The major weakness of vehicles compared to bots. They have a lot more strength, but if they're going the wrong way, they're almost useless. And sad as well. Which, you know, two sides of the same emotionally distressing coin. A single fiend! 0% on the starlight! Or is that the amount of fucks it gives right now? It's unclear. Will be slightly repaired by the commander itself. Master Bell with that single starlight drawing a lot of attention down the mid lane. But overall, still the red team with more metal production. Holding for now a single sumo guarding for all these Sheldons. A Banisher missile tank. Very high damage option out of Cortex Vehicle Lab. Neza calls for resign. The vote fails immediately. I love democracy. Not willing to give it up yet. Especially since the South is doing all right here. There's so many opportunities, even at this level. All it takes is one gap, and things can turn around so quickly. We aren't at the stage, even though the soundtrack is currently playing the song entitled Fading Hope of Victory. You know, that could apply to either side. Right now, it obviously applies to the blue team, but Yomikachi is sharing pretty much all of his resources with Neza. There's a lot on the ground right here. There's 4,000 metal ready to be claimed. But Morley wants it. A legion of grunts moving forward. But there's enough lightning... Was that lightning tanks? Yes. Getting kind of abandoned. Sentient Waffle gonna need some support. The grunts starting to overrun. Still intense artillery fire in Deja Vu. On the other side of the map, artillery pushing forward. Almost the exact opposite location. that we saw. And the production, as well as much of the economy, is potentially vulnerable. The Sheldon's all balled up here, but just poking out, drizzling out their artillery shells. But the Jaguars, a natural predator of Sheldons, and we see them here in their natural habitat, getting as much flanking damage as possible and driving it back. The Shurikens! Air! Air! So the Shurikens with their EMP targeting. Hold those units down, stun them. Jesus Christ! Was not an air unit to my knowledge, though I guess technically. The Shurikens, the stopgap there, quite literally. Holding units in place, especially those early tier 1 units that can be stunned easily. And allowing the others to take them out. But the Sheldons, shelling down again. And Barnup, oh no! So close to it. Many of the defending units and a lot of progress being made here. The base itself, vulnerable. Bacon Dude is cooking right now. The Sheldon's breaking through. Fighters overhead. But is there anything to follow it up? Do they have shurikens of their own? What is the defense? The fighters are here, but that's just covering for any other sort of air. There's no... Ah, here come the Jaguars. That's a lot of Sheldons, though. Like, there's 36 Sheldons on the screen here. The Jaguars moving forward. Trying to deal with it, getting tripped up on the wreckage of their brothers. Or sisters, or, you know. No, they're all dead at this point. Doesn't really matter. What is all this? Some anti-air bots rallied out. And there were enough Sheldons. Honestly, that is kind of the general playstyle of Sheldons. But Shrek is, chiming in, I think, lore appropriately. Meanwhile, Bulls have joined the field on either side. Maddie out in the midst of everything. Self-destruct, giving himself up for the team. Will it be enough? Knocks out the Bulls. And they'll no longer be running through. Not real. Maddie sacrifices himself. The most dramatic action he's taken all game. Honestly, I haven't seen him build any units. I guess he has a few out there, but... that is very much GG. Now about 40% of the lobby has called GG, which is a very low number as these games go. But it will continue despite the analysis of the players. Meanwhile, Neza with a whole bunch of spam moving forward. Shurikens on location. Morley consuming the commander to the north. Metal Produce still goes heavily to the red team, but the spam is moving through. The Shurikens trying to hold. Fighters knocking out the screen and trying to deal with the Shurikens. There were some anti-air bots in the mix. The Fiends are coming back. Wind Turbine's under fire, and fire is closing in on the Sheldons. But still, a lot of damage has been dealt. There's a few vehicles in the mix as well. Looks like he resurrected some of the Bulls. There's just so much damage being done. Gutting the economy here. Are there any fusions? Oh no. Advanced fusion reactor. Fry will conquer. Oh. Just cutting through all the wind turbines. If that fusion reactor finishes, it could certainly expedite their demise. Another bombing run. The bombers just carpeting everything. Doesn't get the tier 2 plant, but gets everything that could potentially support it. I think he sees the advanced fusion with its new fancy shiny effects, especially when they explode. The bomber's hitting so hard he's coming around again. I think he's looking for the construction turrets and the advanced fusion itself. It holds, but with no construction turrets. And there's still units coming down. I hope we get to see the new explosion effects. But the Fiends are cutting through the grunts. They just... Ooh. The Fiends will hold for now. The north is stalled, though there are some arbiters. It looks like I will conquer. No longer feeling optimistic about that statement. But his team will live on. Thurksy takes over. Low mental. Indeed. When a player leaves the game, not only does it not necessarily hurt the team, a more mentally determined teammate can take over the units, the economy, and potentially use them to even greater effect. This can also be, it can be a boon, as long as players are prepared to do so. Also, any unit in the game can be shared with your teammates. You can transfer resources. It is the most comprehensive and intuitive sort of kind of team RTS I've ever played. In fact, it's almost intimidating how many options there are. Neza, point blank range. 2 tier 3 Razorbacks, double kill. Is that the still? No, it's not the same Starlight from earlier, but metaphorically it is. The wreckage dotting the field to the southeast. The battle still continues heavily to the north. The fact that tier 3 is on the field, what kind of economy does Morley have? He's at 4k energy, which is not really enough to support this. The Bulls still holding. Getting a full overview now. You can see Neza, who has 5,000 energy. Nobody has that much. The most is Thirdsea, who took over I Will Conquer's economy. He's only got 7k, so it is not a huge disparity. The blue team now does have a slight metal production lead and a little bit more energy, but it is by no means a decisive advantage. The Vanguard, all-terrain heavy plasma cannons, spider units, with those multifaceted leg platforms that can go up and down the cliffs and fire pretty much any angle. And making great use of it, Shrek! Oh no, get out of my swamp! Well, it doesn't look like a swamp at all, honestly, this map. Not even a drop of water, just like most players like it. This push. Oh wow, the ticks. I don't think there are any Junos here in order to wipe them out. The rockets coming in from the Arbiters. And this could be a game-ending push. The ticks are swarming around. More looking to flank. Neza coming in. Gunships, shurikens. Some of the economy sacrifice superficial damage. There is a lot of anti-air bots. It takes down the shurikens easily in the first wave. The ticks swarming around. Going to try to get on top of everything. There's a few Razorbacks in there. We'll cut through them quickly. The Bull's really struggling with this location, though. The ticks swarming over. The rockets at point-blank range. And as dramatic as it was, the ticks are thinned out quickly. Neza, I don't believe there's a they may have taken out any radar bombs, which means there's no vision of the Cloak Commander standing still in order to reduce the likelihood he runs out of energy. But again, the Razorbacks are dangerously close. He's lining up a shot. He's waiting for his moment. Fires off a shot. Only gets one. Neza's commander gets a couple bowls with a glancing blow. Starlight's looking for damage. There's a battle headed to the south, but the Razorbacks are carving through. Gonna get the tier 2 vehicle plant. The commander goes down. Takes with it a chunk of the vehicles, but is it gonna be enough? The Razorbacks are gutting the economy down the center. A pulsar. Everything stalled out to the south. Sentient Waffle comes in, whips out a couple D-guns, knocks him down, turns it around again. 2%, no percent. Commander's taken down. And that leaves 3 to 3. Technically, could still be revived if they're ever able to reclaim this territory, but it's getting more and more difficult. Shrek is cloaked here. More Starlights coming up. They need to be targeted. The economy being shattered right now. Thirksea is reclaiming ground and all of the metal on the field. Meanwhile, the two southern players are trying to push through, get something done. The push to the north with the red team. Well, the team formerly known as the red team. Still breaking through. And the Vanguards have climbed up to the high ground. They're not so great on their own, but they get some great shots off. The Starlight's moving forward. Pulsar's trying to hold. Ooh, Shivas. The Cortex assault mechs the bread and butter tier 3 frontline for the Cortex. Pretty spammable, only 1,500 metal apiece. Not cheap, but you're not going to have to take out a loan most of the time for them. What is this? A single construction turret being evacuated. Sure. Meanwhile, self-destruct. Does that do AoE damage? I'm not sure. Self-destructed the radar bots. It might. Metal being shared out. Meanwhile, tier 3 battle to the south. Razorbacks versus Shivas. Razorbacks, I think, faster, have more DPS overall, and are more expensive, but the Shivas are, like many Cortex options, just a lot to contend with. There's just a lot of metal, a lot of mass, all right, much like your mother. So, the Razorbacks hold the line. The gantry, dangerously close. Neither side has really been able to up their energy production much. It's 18 versus 21k, which is, in the grand scheme of things, especially 30 minutes into the game, usually at this point we're exponentially scaling. We're looking at least a couple players in double digits. The fact that that whole team is barely 20k, give or take on either side, has been a very intense game. The damage done and metal produced slightly favoring the red team. The artist formerly known as the red team. The starlight's great against single target, and with nothing covering for him, I don't think there's much vision here. Yeah, the Razorback still cutting through. Meanwhile, Neza. And, ooh, more rocket bots coming out. A catapult. Now, this is a siege breaker. The catapult scatters rockets in a general area. You cannot be specific, but you should try, because they will fire at a single tick at the feet of your entire army, if you're not careful. But the Razorback still doing so much damage, getting swarmed by ticks. Neza overwhelming. The Razorback physically block. Get off my lawn! God! The Razorback goes down. And, oh, one of his own! The ticks activating flanking damage, which increases the damage from attacks of multiple angles. Another big benefit of swarming with ticks. Meanwhile, though, Not Real still breaking through. Let's look at the damage dealt. He's done the most overall for his team. Bacon Dude for the southern team now. No longer entirely the western team, just the southwestern team. But the economies are being less tied to the actual area on the map and more to the potential scaling. But now this is the push. The catapults be on the back lines. The pulsar is trying to hold the front. But the catapult rockets starting to scatter through. Pulsars try to target the catapults themselves. You can really see those rockets come out, though. They don't do much, but they'll take out pretty much all the support for the Razorbacks. Each rocket doing a few hundred damage. Razorbacks have like 13, 14k. Let me micro. He's asking his teammate to share the catapults. Oh, he did? Indeed. Wow, scattering so much damage on those Razorbacks. The Pulsar's the longest range basic turret. Holding for now. Bombers sneaking around. Not Real with his commander. That's a bold move. We'll see if it works out for him. Does Neza know? Yes, he can see the commander. They're closing in. Bombers sneaking around. He managed to get a few fighters out to intercept, but they're tier 1 fighters against tier 2 bombers. Means they don't go down quickly. They will go down, though. Looks like almost every single one. Does he get a run on the construction turrets? Wow. Neza manages to defuse the situation. Just barely. One or two more bombers getting through could have been disastrous. And meanwhile, Not Real getting a little too big for his metaphorical metal britches. Gets taken down. 3 commanders to 2. The catapults still scattering. Take out the pulsar. The best defense against this push, and the blue team now making a whole lot more progress. They finally put together a real tier 3 composition. They got the Shivas as the frontline option. The meat and then the potatoes of the grunts that are mixed in throughout it. Grunts on either side, but a constant stream of them. Not so much to actually do damage, but to draw fire. The pulsar cutting through a dozen of them at a time, and even more pop up to replace them. Are those catapults on hold fire? Yes. Until they're manually targeted on something. To make sure the ticks don't draw it. But he does target the ticks, and then, well, yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got, okay, all right. Resurrecting the pulsar. The lines are being stalled out now. As we get to the stage with both sides having tier 3, and these heavy defensive options that you can't even really get close without committing a huge chunk of your army. Razor's trying to move forward. The catapults are a bit exposed right now, and they have some arbiters with them, but all of these suffer from an inability to really deal with frontline units. Like Razorbacks, they need Shivas, they need grunts in front. None of them have an attack that can just point and shoot. They're all firing off long-range rockets, which can be dodged. Though, quantity has a quality all its own. As you can see, every rocket firing off and all of them. Meanwhile, the standoff to the north. There's a whole bunch of artillery tanks. Ticks. Neza has managed to reestablish. The energy, though, starting to scale with the advanced fusion reactors. This is when you start pounding that energy into metal with advanced energy converters, which can transfer, I believe it's 600 to 10 metal a second. Yeah, 600 to 10.3. And that is near infinite scaling economy, where you can just convert energy directly into metal. You're limited mostly by the amount of space on the map and the fact that if a strong enough unit looks at your fusion reactors wrong, your entire base will explode. But it requires a certain baseline economy just to get things running. It appears Thurxie has finally reached it. Our first player... Wait, no. I underestimated Morley, who has no qualms about putting all of his metaphorical nuclear-powered eggs in one basket. His fusion cores are coming together. He's got 16,000 energy and counting. 3K apiece on those advanced fusions. The southern push has been stalled. The north has been reestablished, but it's a tenuous hold. Morley is building up. He's got a spam of grunts. 3,000 units on the field. The line is chocked full of units. But no one making huge moves. For at least a few minutes now. The Titan. The strongest armada. Tier 3 unit. At least by most measures. I guess the Thor is also up there, but has now come out to hold down the southern lines. Is this an attack? I'm realizing now these are Maddie's units, the artillery, whereas Not Real is going for the spam and scaling. Mossad's exchanging at the very edge of line of sight range. The field begins its circuit board progression with the grids of construction turrets, fusion reactors. A very tense yet surprisingly kind of quiet bit of the game. any game that makes it this far has one of these moments, at least. To some extent, where there's just... It's not like things are stalled. It's just, we're at a stalemate. Neither side able to push through reliably or willing to commit until they see an opportunity or get enough economy to make one. Trying to build another pulsar under fire. Good luck. Somehow no rockets landed there. Is Titan too strong? Okay, there you go. Feels like we're building up to something to the north. There are 320 grunts just out of Morley here. I'm looking to see if there are any nukes or other kind of late game super weapons besides just the tier 3 strength. Neza's sitting on 590 units, of which several hundred are ticks. He actually hands some of the ticks off to his teammate so he can focus on microing them while he's working on the other side. Meanwhile, Master Bell coming in with a field of resbots. He's actually just eating them all instead of resing them, much to the dismay of his teammates. With energy, you can resurrect units, like, say, Shivas. Or you can just reclaim a percentage of the metal, around 70% of the wreckage on the ground of the unit. Which can be very valuable to build new units. But you know what also is good? Having the unit itself. Even better. But, it is much quicker and easier to reclaim than it is to resurrect a unit. When you resurrect a unit, it starts at low HP and you still have to repair it. So, that is an effort as well. That is why many players will just go for the reclaim. But in some scenarios, it's considered quite a dick move. I bomb, says not real. Does he have bombers? He's building some now, but it's more of a stretch goal than an active plan, it seems. Yeah, Shrek is still here. He has 2 metal per second and 40 energy. He's just chilling in the corner. He is... It looks like they resurrected a commander somewhere, and the blue team now has 4 commanders. But the general economy and production is still in favor of the formerly red team. But the Shiva's breaking through. Bombers having a real tough time trickling in one at a time. Not going to be enough to deal with the Shivas. Wait a second, this push. A Titan pops out of the gantry, but the rockets will easily take down the gantry itself. The Titan is going to be more to contend with, but a huge push from the southern team. And what is there to deal with it? A few bombers are kind of taking random shots. The catapult's easily able to fire up to the high ground, and 1 commander remains. Morley, cloaked in the center of the map, realizing he's the last commander, is now heading for the corner. Oh shit, whoops, what did he do? Oh no! He walked his catapults into the Titan. I think he may have right-clicked instead of meant to attack command in the Titan. Probably combined with some friendly fire of his team. Just absolutely obliterated them. That's a lot of catapults down. I think contributing to the massive army value advantage here. The army value is 143 to 100k. And here come, like, 200 or something grunts and pawns trying to save the Titan. The Shivas are coming around the corner, but here come the grunts. Get him! They just pop out of nowhere in the vision. The catapult's coming in gunships overhead. Shivas have no anti-air attack. The grunts all clumped up, dying by the dozen. But they will draw fire back and allow maybe some time to stabilize, which I believe was the intent. Meanwhile, fighters screening. One Titan. Still charging forward. The battle to the north is still stalled out, as all forces are focused towards this southern battle. It's 2 Titans, and if they fall, so 3 Titans, 2 brothers, and 1/3 wheel. Bombers coming in, but fighters knock them out of the sky. Actually, there's fighters on either side for the most part. The grunts were wiped out. Now some gunships from Neza. Titans do have an anti-air option, I think. It just kind of sucks. Or maybe they don't. No, they do. Just limited. Morley kind of carrying that. He's got 35k energy. There's a 40% energy and 40% metal per second lead for the red team. Even though they have less territory, they have more economy packed into that territory. Tier 2 fighters wiping out the rally point. There's not that much anti-air underneath. A few turrets taking them down, a few units. I think there's some Tier 1 anti-air units, but the rockets are landing on... Oh no, the res bots. Call an ambulance. Please, for me as well. Those catapults constantly finding shots. The Titans struggling, but they are holding. That's the key. Shrek 3. What is his APM? Still at sea. Is he alive? No, he's just AFK. But some of the ticks are making it through. Another Titan falls. And remember, there's just 1 commander left. Morley is... Where is that commander? He's just hanging out in the middle of everything. Definitely don't want to be in the corner or by your fusions. And 1 lucky shot and the game can just end. A line of sharpshooters here. A lot more focused fire. Another Titan dead. Another few dozen res bots. The grunts being rallied. A literal conga line of grunts coming across them. Up, 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 up. Sharpshooters are cloaked as well. Quite energy intensive. They also take, what is it, 500 a shot to fire, as well as have energy to maintain the cloak. Masterville doesn't really have the energy for it, but Neza is now at 22k, Sentient Waffle at 18. Blue team really pushing through. And there's a line of advanced fusions not too far out of catapult range right now. Dragons unleashing their fire breath across the ground. Effectively a tier 3 air unit, the Flying Fortress. Maybe don't land there. Wait, just landing a light? No, God. The fighters swinging in to knock him out of the sky. On both sides. Waves of fighters. Constantly. If they get to the fusions. That's a big chunk of the economy down there. I'm not sure how many units are left to defend. 2, 3 Titans. Bombers. Oh, gunships moving up as well. They're gonna try to fight them from the skies. But there's nothing but these units between them and the fusions. Res bots by the dozen underneath. They can see it, but there's not much splash damage to actually deal with it. Another Titan taken down. They know the fusions are there as well. Meanwhile, to the north, this has just been happening. These turrets, I'm sure, have hundreds of kills. Okay, 14, give or take. Gunships overhead. Anti-air. There's a flak turret back here that they retreat to. Neza has a wing of fighters. The catapults are targeted on the fusions and are about to unleash a wave. That should be enough. They don't quite land everything, but there it goes. Direct hit. Wipes out a huge chunk, and suddenly the blue team has the lead. But meanwhile, a massive run. Oh my. Hundreds of fighters battling it out across the field. They're going straight for the fusions. He's trying to carve a path through the air onto the fusion reactors. He passes by Sentient Waffles, but the fusion chain, oh no! It's a disaster! Meanwhile, the Legion on the ground combines. The Titan in mass turrets, beamers and pulsars and everything. The quantity has a quality all its own. And the energy lead flips right back to the Eastern team. 55% ahead. There's a clutch of fusions in the corner by Shrek, who is rebuilding from the literal ground up. What an exchange. One shot. Oh, whoa! One bomber! It lived. Wow. Even got a few more wind turbines as it crashes down. Which was the name of the song we were listening to. Wow, how's the soundtrack so perfect? It is a dynamic soundtrack, by the way. You can customize it yourself, but I haven't. This is the in-game soundtrack that changes with the state of the game. I'm not sure what actually triggers it, but seems to be on point. Are those gunships? Yes, the Roughnecks. Armada gunships. Tier 2. Helping clear out some of the basic units here. One commander to 4. Blue team still has a massive push moving forward. Neza's economy knocked down to 7k. Master Bell 14. How does he have so much? He survived with a few fusions. But this ground army, the Titans, being targeted by the sharpshooters, getting taken down with effectively musket fire volleys as the sharpshooters with their massive oversized blaster pistol do a ton of damage if they're actually able to line up their shots. A great counter if you're able to micro them and can support them against things like Titans. But here come the dragons. There's all those little ones, the crossbows mixed in. Literally dozens. There are 59 crossbows here. So he's got the sharpshooters and crossbows, but the bombing run across the board, wiping out a lot of the sharpshooters, which was the main priority. And the Titans moving as well. Wow, Master Bell actively, he's got some consoles, the combat engineers, vehicle combat engineers, very nice to you. The Royal Guard of the Advanced Construction Vehicle. Hundreds of thousands of metal on the ground throughout the match. Metal production almost even, still in favor of the red team overall, but not by too much. The damage dealt for blue, but here comes some more bombers scattered throughout. The scattered bombing runs, a one-time deal. The bombers will be taken down, but if they get their run off, these units are very vulnerable to any sort of scattered damage like that. And even things like grunts exchanging on both sides, melee range. Now Titans from Master Bell. But the grunts are closing in, and the anti-air bots have no ground attack. They're completely vulnerable. Something's happening up north. Something's been happening for like 20 minutes here. Yeah. Wonder how many kills. The Pulsar's 37. Razorbacks 30. Titans 73. And units do rank up the more damage they do. Like, for example, this Titan with 84 kills has a little more HP. I believe that's it, actually. I think it depends how much damage it does, not how many kills, because kills would be silly. But usually it's HP for most things. There are a few units that get actual DPS upgrades, but oh wow. Here comes the hailstorm. The Cortex bombers actually take out the anti-air, and a few crashing bombers may take out a couple more units as well. Resbot's putting back together as many tier 3 units as possible. So far, been quite an exchange. The sharpshooters covering for the catapults. Bombing run to the north. Sharpshooters moving into position to the south. The bombing runs are usually the main focal point. We've already seen the damage they can deal. How many fighters on the map? There are 700 grunts, 200, I want to say high wind. Yes, the Armada fighters. Clearing out. Another legion of grunts. Razorbacks moving into position to engage. Is there enough to stop it? Lines of pulsar fire just chewing it up alongside the Gatling guns of the Razorbacks. And the grunts will be cut down. The lawn has been mowed, but behind it some artillery tanks as well. But no, it's not going to be remotely enough. Meanwhile, though, to the south, the Titans on either side. Why won't they make Titanfall 3? Bombers are hit. A few of them maneuvering around. Meanwhile, the Titans underneath. Another wave. And there's not much anti-air. In fact, the bombers may be able to get a third run off. No, get taken down. Oh, by the way, the jet propulsion and like the heat trails of aircraft. I wanted part of the new update. They have significantly more partially team-colored as well as different visuals for a lot of different units. Before they were very kind of homogeneous. Those advanced fusions are dangerously close here. Are those nuclear silos queued up? Indeed they are. Xerxes has dropped out of the game after his base gets mostly wiped out. But Morley has 53k energy on his own. He's not willing to give it up, and neither is Not Real. Only 5 players remain. A nuclear silo at the back. Both sides going. Oh! Another critical hit. A fusion chain. Down the center. Takes a couple Titans with it. Not sure what triggered it, but another swarm of grunts. Wow. Literally just a flood of them spilling out into the crater. Pulsars and... Oh my. What are those? Are those vanguards? Just looks like just generic artillery is peppering it here. As the grunts move by. Trying to make it up like... But why though? If they make it through. Some of the grunts will make it all the way up to the high ground. The ticks who have been holding guard and finally will spring into action. How many Titans are on the field? This is not going to tell us. There's 13 Titans between the teams right now. 4,600 units in total. That does include building. 400 grunts. How many? There's 52 sharpshooters from Master Bell. An entire division. Bombers heading in. Fighters intercepting. But it only takes a few scattered throughout. The sharpshooters. Their numbers cut down. They drop down. Wow. Wow. Only 16? He got over 2/3 of them. Cutting down on the critical mass. The nuclear silos are charging. On both sides. Is there anti-nuke? We're gonna find out. Their nukes ready. Madness. Honestly, this map seems kind of small for 8v8, but they're all jammed in nice and close. Did they abandon the nuke idea to the north? It looks like yes. But Morley definitely has some. There's anti-nuke. The sharpshooters are rebuilding. The Titans are stuck. I think they can't get out. They're literally trapped in by nuke silos. Those are house Titans. Look at those beautiful construction turrets on the air pads there. I'm just waiting for them to fire off the nukes. Doesn't want to reveal it. Have they been spotted? No. There's been no scouting of that corner of the map for probably over half an hour. Wow, we're 56 minutes in. This is more like the economy I expected to see as the players finally settled down, but there's a oh, it's just a fusion reactor. Not too devastating if they lose it. Titans holding another bombing run. Honestly, not real with these well-timed and well-placed bombing runs. He has both flavors now. He's also got some hailstorms, the Cortex version. Blizzards are the Armada. I feel like the Armada is a little more maneuverable, but the hailstorms are tankier. Fighter swarms just kind of coalescing like ravens flocking, or starlings. They should be called that, I feel. Why are you holding on to that? He's trying to overwhelm the anti-nuke. So, an anti-nuke emplacement, an anti-nuke interceptor, can fire off multiple anti-nuke interceptor missiles. But it can only fire off so many so quickly. I believe 7 or 8 is the number you need to overwhelm a single anti-nuke launcher. And that's what he's doing. He currently has 13 nuclear missile silos. Exactly 0 of which have been spotted. That means if he picks his target well, and there is not overlapping anti-nuke capability. Oh, incoming nuke. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Where's he firing? Oh, point blank. He gives it away. That was... Alright. That was not very ambitious. I'm looking for... Yeah, they have anti-nuke back here. It would not have gone through. So he tried to just play it safe. The grunts made it in! They didn't get close enough to hit the fusions. Morally, we're just waiting. They have one commander. They've been pushed back to this corner of the map. But they have an arguably near even economy. The Titan's still stuck because of this tiny rock. He had to move some stuff out of the way to deal with it. They all have nukes ready. Well, 0 nukes on most of these. Morley is pretty much broke the whole time. It costs a certain level of upkeep in order to construct the nuclear missiles. You can limit how many they construct, but it is quite a drain on resources. Having 10 silos draining 8 metal per second. On top of building Titans and dozens of grunts. How many units have been lost? About 28,000 overall. Well, no, 28,000 produced. 22,000 have been lost. The push continuing through. The Titans on either side. This is getting rough. The air, they're relying on air to defend, which is, well, they have one last card to play. And the hand is shown He's firing an entire salvo of nuclear missiles. And how many interceptors? The interceptors are going up from either side. They have multiple. Is it enough? It only takes one. The nukes. Every single... Wait! They made it. They knocked them all out of the sky. Unfortunately, the target he picked. How many are left on those anti-nuke? And now he showed his play. 6 stockpiled. This one has 16. They're not going to be able to overwhelm it. So now they're going to try the dragons. Another salvo. The interceptors are firing again. Meanwhile, the fighters are all knocked out of the sky. The dragons engaging. Nuclear fire in the sky and regular fire on the ground. The nukes are knocked out of the sky, but the dragons remain there. Fighters coming in to intercept on either side. Will clash over top of the Titans. If the Western team wins the fighter war, then the dragons can just glass everything underneath. But it was not a decisive victory. Both sides replenishing fighters. Meanwhile, Morley and Not Real, let's be honest, that's the vast overwhelming majority, still have more economy than the rest of the blue team combined. Maddie said to get another legion of grunts. I thought I heard nukes launching, but they are one half step of a Titan away from disaster. It's still another volley. Wait, there's no anti-nukes going up. Where are they firing? Oh, over from the right side, the anti-nukes. Are there enough to stop them all? No. They will break through, and they will land. The sharpshooters obliterated. The Titans critically damaged. And there were not enough to stop them. Oh, and yes, all right. Gotta be careful now, they're moving forward. The sharpshooter line completely obliterated. Everything smaller than a Titan, easily annihilated. It's total annihilation. And now the Titans will move into the gap. Another nuke is firing. That one will be intercepted. The launcher's on the high ground. But more going up. I don't think they have enough in the stockpile. You gotta be... Really hope you're not nuking your team. Oh, no, 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 no! He shot himself in the back! Oh, no! Oh, no! It's a disaster! No! Morley! He probably had a shift cube command. Oh! No, not a... No! It's a disaster! He shift queued the command before the nukes finished building. And now his own Titans will feel the nuclear hellfire. And what could have been a decisive push is now a crater of shame. Suddenly, the Titans in full retreat against those of Bacon Dude, who has been cooking this entire time. Another nuke. They just keep firing off. Intercepted. Another one. The line's still holding to the north. And until the fusions are taken out, the economy still only go up. Yet another one. He's just gonna keep firing them. The anti-nukes are... Wait, there's no anti-nuke. Oh no. They ran out. It's a disaster. That nuke's just continually pounding, trying to create another crater. Technically possible, it's just gonna take a few more. And if you dig deep enough, we can turn it into a water map. The dragons overhead. The fighters are not reinforcing in time. The nuke. Oh no, watch out for your team, Morley. Oh no. No, no, you be careful with those things. Those are literally nuclear missiles. Morley giveth and Morley taketh away. Not real. Frustrated. Will vote to resign. Honestly, getting nuked, your dragons nuked out of the sky when they likely could have cleared the Titans on their own was probably not. Not very, inspiring. What? Some resbots. The blue team has now finally scaled to the point they've recovered after an absolutely devastating bombing run. And if they can't get any more done, the momentum, the weight of the economy. Another salvo. Just knocking it out, nearly exact same location. The Titans eating some hits. The dragons moving forward. They still have. It's just the scaling at the back. The advanced fusions, the circuit board of economy has now come together. It's been a titanic effort in every sense of the word. But they put all their eggs in the nuclear basket, and then they cracked right over the heads of their own Titans. They nuke more, maybe we get seaplanes soon. Yes, you can't build seaplanes without water to build your seaplane plant. Oh my. 110 wasps. 26 dragons swinging in. The fighter battle continues. Oh no! The nuke! Did he lose the anti-nuke? Finally, I'm free. Oh, it was they built plasma cannons. It wasn't a nuke. Their 6 basilisk plasma cannons broke through any shields and hit the fusions, wiping out not only the... Oh, but there's more. And now scattered throughout the field. They can technically hit the fusions. A chain reaction. Could be the rest of it. And now, without that economy, over double. The blue team has held on for 69 minutes in one of the most epic exchanges. A story of drama, betrayal, tactics, strategy, an unreasonable exchange, but par for the course. G. Rumors of the blue team's demise were greatly exaggerated, it seems. So that's how it ends. After hundreds of thousands of units, and the replay apparently cutting directly to the menu. I didn't know it would do that. I thought I could look at the stats after. I do apologize, but just assume thousands of units dead. GG. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it made a significant chunk of your day a little bit better. Goes to show that it's not over until your teammate nukes you multiple times in the back. Or themselves. Actually, he kind of nuked himself. But that's not really the point. It's not about who wins or who loses. Well, it is, but it's about the journey. So hopefully it made your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. If you've got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon. But I hear liking and subscribing. Still free. Just like Beyond All Reason for now. So, thank you to our Mule Tier patrons, Big Jig, Devin Door, Mario, Random Guy Suit, for all the extra minerals. And thank you for watching. Glad you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Stay unreasonable.